So while we're doing this, we're doing things a little different this episode, folks, because while Daniel here is a writer, we're gonna rely on his expertise as a professional story coach to ask some questions. Like, we think of marketing as something. A lot of people think of marketing as something that happens after a book's done, and a lot of people, I always say, well, no, marketing should at least start 6 months before the book's finished. But I think I'm gonna guess, and there are certainly decisions that could be made during the actual creation process that can certainly help or hinder your marketing. And one of those things that I think should always be considered is you're developing a character and you're trying to build this character out to be whatever you're trying to build it out to be. I'm curious what your thoughts are on how much marketing starts directly at the character level. Like, you're creating this thing, who is this going to appeal to? Are there ways in which we want to develop this character to appeal to certain people? Like, if you know your market as an author, there's some people, great. If you have a story you want to tell and you don't care if anyone reads it or likes it, that's awesome. But for most of the people, I imagine, like, they want to sell books, they want people to read their books, they want to appeal to at least a certain person. And I'm curious, and this could be like in the writing process or even in the process of getting the world to understand this character. I think what I've been seeing lately certainly is that we spend not enough time, the creators, actually showing the characters off, because it's like you have this cool idea for a story, but the story itself is just a thing for this. It's a vehicle for this character that you really love, and you're spending more time telling me about a story as a writer than you are telling me about the character. And I feel like that's a big negative, because at the end of the day, what the people are going to connect with is going to be that character.
Very true. We've talked about this a couple of times now, I think at least twice. But yeah, I agree. I actually want to roll back slightly a little bit to earlier when you said 6 months before the book comes out, particularly with the Iron Age community. Part of the fear with marketing that I've noticed in the clients I've spoken to is that there's a very fast turnover rate with a lot of us. We're writing the book in a total of maybe 6 months to a year. Like, the actual writing is done in 6 months to a year. Then we're trying to get the editing done quickly, and then the book out to the public and already started on the next one. So there's this cycle of attention that's going into what's being produced. But at the same time, doing it that quickly, it's hard for a lot of us to commit to a marketing strategy 6 months ahead of time, because we are still developing. Like, it's still burning in our heads and it hasn't fully formed into the statue. It's still something of a clay mold. And that's a discussion I've had with people a lot recently, how to market these things. I think the 6 month is correct for most traditional ways of doing it, because if you go the traditional publishing route with a company behind you, yeah, they want to slow roll and build like that. If you're an indie that wants to get a volume of text out for customers and potential fans and things like that, if you don't have an audience, you're hyper focused on producing the value to give to people. And I'm not sure that they have the wherewithal at that time to really build a marketing strategy around it.
Well, and here's what I would say to this: all the more reason to focus on characters, because especially if you're writing like you write multiple books about within a series, and I understand there are other ways people that like where they'll use like the world as a series. Once again, worlds are characters. They always have been. Maybe that's the Dungeons and Dragons kid me.
It is,
but
very much.
Every world is its own character. But if you focus on characters as a way to develop your audience, then you never, even if you never technically have to stop that marketing process. Like, so you start it for that first book, and it kind of continues past that first book into, whatever books come after it, because the character is still the same. Now you can kind of change, like, the struggles that they go through, and, like, you thought you knew this character, but here we are pitting him up against this. You know, once again, I look to Batman. Batman, yeah, he grows and he changes, but the reason he changes is because there's a core essence of what Batman is, and it's always, how does Batman do against this type of villain? It's how does he take on new challenges? They don't need to. They don't necessarily need to start a new marketing campaign. It's, we have a character here, and the campaign is just introducing the new challenge and alerting the customer to the new challenge to take that on. The other thing I would say is, like, hey guys, you can slow down a little bit, work on selling more books to the one thing. You still do the work on the books, and then by the time your marketing on that first book is done, everything's done on the second book. You start promoting that second book, and eventually you could just bank up books so that if you want to go on vacation for a half a year, you have books that are waiting for you to take care of that. I know most of us are people that come from working class backgrounds. It's part of why we're the Iron Age. We're not the guys that got the cushy jobs. We're the guys that said, well, we're tired of the elites catering to the elites, and we want to fucking read what we want to read.
And that's part of what drives that mentality is that the almost blue collar sense of, I must finish the day's work. I've got to do it and get it done, and then I can show it off. Not, whereas in marketing strategies, you want to build buzz, so you think about that. And if you're a guy that's working construction, you're building an office, you're not going to go out to the bar after work and go, yeah, I was putting this building together and this particular room was pretty cool. Everybody's like, shut up, dude, drink your beer.
The architect, however, did do that
the architect would do that, yes. But us who are in those sorts of fields, we don't think that way, and it takes a little bit of retooling to see that.